it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Daboll has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Daboll to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on...
A new week starts right here, right now, live on a Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. A huge Monday, DRS, in store. It is the final day of the MLB regular season with 2 more spots at stake in the National League playoff picture. A doubleheader in Atlanta to set the stage for a doubleheader of Monday Night Football as well. And of course, a full recap of the entire Sunday slate all around the National Football League, all 13 games from Sunday. The upsets that continue in the year of the dog, the prime time and marquee matchups with a couple of dominant and impressive performances in the 2 teams that have already improved to 4-0 following week number 4. We'll look back on the weekend that was in college football as well. I'm not kidding when I say a jam-packed Monday morning here on the early line.
My favorite month of the year is the month of September, and we have one more day here. But let's set the table, Ben, for this Monday show and why we love to be here and have armchair quarterback. Friday night in Miami, unbelievable finish against Virginia Tech. Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, unbelievable finish. Sunday, complete NFL action. Monday, doubleheader in Major League Baseball to determine who goes to the playoffs here. Who doesn't love September? Let's get after it, Ben.
We love September on its final day. We also love October playoff baseball, deeper in to the NFL season, an NBA campaign on the horizon, some NBA trade news on Friday night as well, WNBA postseason, on to the second round, the semifinals around the league. There is so much to get to here in these 3 hours. Of course, we start with Sunday Night Football in the Charm City, a matchup of 2 conference crown contenders in the AFC. The Buffalo Bills entering undefeated. The Baltimore Ravens off of their first win, trying to show everybody around the National Football League they still remain at the top of the pecking order in the AFC. And that's exactly what the Flock did last night. A dominant and impressive performance on Sunday night. Ravens rolling the Bills 35-10. Baltimore easily covering as a 2.5-point home favorite. Speaking of 2, it was nearly 2 Bills for the King. Derrick Henry on the ground, 199 rushing yards against Buffalo last night.
It was fantastic to watch the Ravens. I had the Ravens winning this football game. That I think they would absolutely smoke show the Bills? No, I didn't. 35-10, an easy victory. But let's look at the blueprint of success for the Baltimore Ravens. They lost their first 2 games, Ben. 41 pass attempts in the game number 1 there for Lamar Jackson. Game number 2, 34 pass attempts. In nice victories, including blowout fashion. Quite frankly, I still consider the Dallas game a blowout. 15 attempts here and 18 attempts last night for Lamar Jackson. Run the football, use your athletes, beat the hell out of your opponent. That's Ravens football. They were tremendous last night.
Tremendous. Really well said, DRS. It was the point I was going to bring up in our full breakdown and recap in our next segment. Only $156 with Lamar through the air, but 2 touchdowns, clean football once again. Very similar script to what happened last Sunday in Dallas to pick up Baltimore's first win of the year. Not asking Lamar to do damn near everything like we saw through the opening 2 weeks for the Flock in 2 losses. And when you acquire Derrick Henry, even at the age of 30, you let the big man rumble. And that's what he has done each of the past 2 weeks. So Buffalo no longer unblemished. Their first loss of the season. 2 teams exit Sunday's slate, DRS, at 4-0. The Seahawks on this Monday night doubleheader can join. One of the 2 expected, the Kansas City Chiefs, who yesterday in an ugly game in Los Angeles against the hampered Chargers do win in the fourth quarter, 17-10. Samaje Perine, the game-winning rushing score about midway through that fourth and final quarter. Line closed at 7.5 in favor of Kansas City, so a slight non-cover on the road, despite the road victory winning outright by a touchdown.
Yeah, I thought that the Chargers would be able to stay inside that number, and that was key, that thing going up to 7.5 at that point. Now, it's apparent. There's no real handicap needed at this point. I've been saying this since early March. They, talking about the Chiefs, have Patrick Mahomes. You don't. Therefore, they just continue to win. And again, it does not matter who their wide receivers are, their running backs, their offensive line, or even who plays defense. By the way, the defense was sensational yesterday. As long as you have Mahomes, you will beat anybody at any time, anywhere. It just doesn't matter.
It seems like that is the case. It has not been pretty for KC, and yet they are 4-0. Bad news, though, yesterday, Rashee Rice injured after an interception from Mahomes, trying to make a tackle. It was actually Mahomes also attempting to make the tackle that went into the right knee of Rashee Rice. Andy Reid saying after the game, it's not good. The fear around the Chiefs organization, a season-ending torn ACL knee injury for Rice, off to a great start this season. Let's go to college football quickly. DRS, the game of the year so far through September, lived up to its billing. Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, it seemed Alabama would roll Tide. They were up 28-zip. Georgia responds. They take a lead with 2.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. So who do you trust? The 17-year-old, Ryan Williams, still spinning in Tuscaloosa. The game-winning touchdown for the Crimson Tide, 41-34 in an instant classic as Alabama wins outright as a short underdog at home.
And quickly, as I tweeted out, it's a shame that I guess half the country who hated the playoff, Ben, couldn't even enjoy that football game because that game didn't matter. Nobody showed up in the stands. TV ratings were in the toilet here. And by the way, in September, how would you like this, Georgia fans? You like the old way of doing things? We lose one football game. You know, nothing matters the rest of the way. Georgia is a great football team. Georgia still has a chance to make the college football playoff. Thank you for putting in a 12-team playoff because football is so much better right now, Ben.
A slow start for the Dogs, but I don't think there's any doubt this team has what it takes to contend for a national championship. Alabama under Kalen DeBoer, now number 1 in the AP top 25, and DRS is correct. 2 of the best teams in the country will still have the opportunity to win a national title because of the expansion of the 12-team format. The atmosphere deserved a great game, and that's exactly what we got. Final weekend of the Major League Baseball regular season. Playoff set. The American League is booked. We know everybody that is on that side. All 6 teams. The Yankees, the top seed. The Twins faltering down the stretch. So the wild card teams, the O's, the Royals, and your Detroit Tigers. In the National League, though, DRS, we need the doubleheader today in Atlanta to determine the final 2 spots between the D-backs, Mets, and the Braves. New York and Atlanta will play too. If they split, both teams are in. If New York sweeps, it's the Mets and the D-backs. If Atlanta sweeps, it's the Braves and the Diamondbacks. Still something to determine on this Monday.
There is. You see that graphic up there? It says 7 there. Diamondbacks, yeah, keep them at 7 because there's no way a team is going to sweep this doubleheader today. You win game number 1, you might even just forfeit game number 2 to give the other team the victory, and away you go into the playoffs here. That's how I see it playing out.
Well said, DRS. The team that wins game 1 clinches their playoff berth. WNBA postseason, start of the semifinals yesterday in a title rematch. New York Liberty, they get the upper hand over the Las Vegas Aces, winning by double digits. The Connecticut Sun on the road in Minneapolis pull off the short upset over the Lynx.
Yeah, fantastic. When they play, I have no idea, Ben. There you go. It's football season. Stop the madness.
Good enthusiasm, DRS. How about some NBA blockbuster trade news on Friday? Karl Anthony Towns heading to the New York Knicks. The Villanova Knicks, short-lived. Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and a first-rounder via Detroit heading back to the T-Wolves.
A-Rod told you he's going to drop that payroll behind the luxury tax and make that team worse. He's just playing out the game plan now. Good for him.
It is a very interesting move for a T-Wolves team that was expected to contend. Does it make the Knicks better? Yeah, I guess. President's Cup, American dominance again in a chippy weekend up in Montreal. The United States rolls over the international team 18.5 to 11.5 to make it 10 consecutive victories in the President's Cup. More around the National Football League for the Sunday slate next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Sunday night football in the Charm City, the end of a 13-game Sunday slate in Week 4 of the National Football League regular season. DRS on Friday, Joe Ranieri and I were breaking down this game. It was a very compelling line in my estimation, 2.5 points in favor of the Flock. For a Buffalo team that had started off 3-0, had already won outright as an underdog back in Week number 2 in Baltimore, who picked up their first win of the year a week ago, albeit dominant in the opening half against the Cowboys, allowing Dallas to creep its way back in. But with a 2.5 spread in favor of the Ravens, it just felt like there was a reason that line was apparent. And Baltimore makes good on the confidence from the odds makers, rolling over the Bills 35-10 on Sunday night, easily covering as a 2.5-point favorite. Total closed at 46.5. Buffalo didn't really hold up its end of the scoring bargain. This total stays under. The Ravens now, DRS, since the start of 2023, 12-7 against the spread, 2-1 against the number, booked as the favorite side, and they made good on that number last night.
Todd Monken, congratulations. You figured out what the keys to success are for the Baltimore Ravens here. It's running the football. It's not passing the football. It's not using wide receivers. It's making sure you handle your business and keeping the football in Lamar Jackson's hands. 13 of 18, 156, 2 touchdowns, no interception. That is the blueprint here. Derrick Henry, you didn't get him to save him for the playoffs. You got him to run the football 20-plus times in a game. 24 carries for $199 and a touchdown. And right off the bat, you saw that 87-yard touchdown. You said, Donnie, what about the wide receivers here? What about him? Justice Hill, running back, 6 catches, 78 yards, using the short dump offs here. Fantastic. Absolutely love to see it. Mark Andrews, man, I really don't know what the deal is with him. He had one pass to him, easy catch, dropped it there. He finishes with 0 yards at this point. Zay Flowers, who I like a lot as a young wide receiver, caught an early rocket screen, took that for 10 yards, didn't see him again, and it doesn't matter here. Understand where you're good. That's playing physical defense. Understand where you're good on offense. That's being a physical offensive line and running the football. That is your recipe for success. If you can just use that the rest of the way, the Baltimore Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL, Ben, which they showed last night.
There's no doubt about it, DRS. And as we said in the opening segment, we are starting to see the script for Baltimore. In their 2 wins, it has been a focus on the ground, trusting the guy known as the King, even at 30 years old, who you acquired this offseason to lead the way, to take the onus and all of the responsibility off the legs and the right arm of Lamar Jackson. You have not invested in the wide receiver position for the entirety of Lamar's time in Baltimore. If that is the case, maybe flawed in concept, at least get somebody to join him in the backfield. And that's what you have now in Derrick Henry. First 2 games of the year for the Ravens, DRS. Derrick Henry less than 20 carries. What happened? They lost both of those games. In the last 2, at least 24 carries, and Derrick Henry has run for at least $150 on the ground. He has scored in all 4 games this year for the Ravens. He has 5 total touchdowns on the ground, and his first receiving touchdown since November of 2019 last night for the flock as well. And because of it, it takes all of the responsibility off Lamar Jackson. What was our main takeaway, DRS, or at least one of the main takeaways from the season debut at the beginning of September, that Thursday night in Kansas City? Boy, the Ravens were close, literally a toe away from forcing overtime and maybe pulling off the upset on Kansas City on the opening night. But if Lamar Jackson is going to be tasked with putting up nearly 400 yards of total offense each and every time Baltimore takes the field, it is going to be a very, very long season for the Ravens. The last 2 weeks, he has thrown for less than 185 yards. He has played clean football. He has run for at least 54 on the ground and a rushing score in each of the last 2. That's the recipe for the Ravens to find success. It's why they've won 2 straight games, covering as a favorite, a short favorite in both, against good teams on the other side. Dallas in week 3, Buffalo at home to end out the week 4 Sunday slate.
Yeah, you look at the ground game, 34 total carries for the Baltimore Ravens, which includes Lamar Jackson's 6 carries, 271 yards. That's good for 8 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. That's what you love to see. And you can't just say, well, if Derrick Henry didn't have that 87-yard run, so what? 23 carries for still over 100 yards at that point.
Yeah.
They were physically dominant all the way through, and that's saying something because the Buffalo Bills probably came in as the hottest football team and looked like they were the lead dogs in the AFC. And if they could have won in Baltimore, what the rest of the season would look like. This is why we always talk about the NFL being a week-to-week season, a week-to-week league. The Baltimore Ravens lose to the Las Vegas Raiders, get out of town, then go on the road and smash the Dallas Cowboys, come back home and then smash the Buffalo Bills. It makes it so tough to gauge week to week, but also that's what we love about parity, because if we are looking at the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, 16 of 29, $180. He didn't turn the football over through the air, but did have that one fumble, which was costly where they were trying to get back into the game. But this was just punishment on both sides of the football where the Baltimore Ravens looked like they should have been the 3-0 team coming in, the Buffalo Bills just looking to get back to 500.
So, DRS, I think that's a fair point as well. There's always the other side of the coin, right? Anything concerning you about Buffalo last night? Only 10 points, not a ton of offense against a Ravens team that was allowing some yardage in the first 3 weeks of the season.
Not at all. This is what the NFL's built here. Parity in the NFL. This is what is great here. Well, on any given Sundays, like to say, things can happen. And coming into the season, it wasn't like, hey, you know what? Baltimore really surprised us here. They look good at 2-2. No, we expected the Baltimore Ravens to be in the top 3 in the AFC as it was anyway. Right. Before the season started, without seeing what the Buffalo Bills did, hey, look at that. Sunday Night Football in Baltimore. Yeah, that's a Baltimore victory. But then things change after the first 3 weeks and you watch it play out. I had the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. I'm not surprised by the win. I'm just surprised by the 25-point win.
Yeah, I think that the blowout fashion that Baltimore put it up against Buffalo last night is maybe the jarring thing. It just felt like a game that the Ravens dominated, and it quickly got out of hand for the Bills. I will say, for Baltimore, even outside of the ground game, really impressive defensively last night to stifle what the Bills were trying to do. Baltimore was the best rushing defense through 3 weeks in the NFL, but the worst passing defense. Part of that was game script dependent. The Raiders coming back from down double digits in the fourth quarter, throwing for a lot of yards. The Cowboys were blitzed out of their own home stadium last week, so Dak had to throw for nearly 400 to make it even look closer in the overall final score. But the Baltimore Ravens were really good defensively against the Buffalo Bills last night. You saw the odds there. Buffalo second best price to win the AFC. The Ravens third best behind Kansas City. More from the Sunday slate next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two big conference contests on the Sunday slate in the early window as well. One, a playoff rematch from a season ago that looked pretty similar to last January and the postseason bout in Tampa. The other, a divisional duel that was really one-sided until it wasn't. It was a story of a Sunday slate around the National Football League. DRS, I'm sorry, but we begin with your Birds against the Bucs in Tampa. Tough day for the Eagles, their top 2 pass catchers, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith not there. Lane Johnson out for the game as well. Short-handed and banged up. but never really close against the Bucs, who stormed out to a 14-zip lead over the Eagles and never looked back. Tampa victorious 33-16. The Eagles were a slight moneyline favorite on the road in Tampa on Sunday, so the Buccaneers do win outright as an underdog. Tampa, since the beginning of the Baker Mayfield era, which of course started last season, now 11-4 against the spread as an underdog. Best of any team around the NFL that's been booked as a dog 5 or more times in that span, but 8 of the 11 covers, as we saw yesterday, and it was a really short number, an outright victory. Tampa wins outright, blowing out the Birds in Tampa yesterday.
Didn't surprise me. I actually thought the Eagles would lose last week to New Orleans. They expended a lot of effort, and then you saw the bye week coming up here. I thought it was a bad spot for the Eagles, but the odds makers still thought they were the better team despite not having the best tandem of wide receivers in the NFL, maybe the best right tackle, and being on the road. Couldn't figure that out, but it was over quickly. It was painless yesterday for the Eagles. 24-0 right away. They couldn't stop anything. Everybody was wide open. And also, here's the issue with the Philadelphia Eagles right now. They're going to get better because the injured guys will come back and they'll score points and they'll make the playoffs and they'll see if they can win the division. But just the questionability of that team was not prepared to play yesterday. And I watched Jalen Hurts, and sometimes you can say and sit up there at the podium, and usually it's coaches speak like, just have to work on and get better and not turn the football over. He looks slow. He doesn't look like he makes reads in the pocket. Now, also, the counter could be, well, yes, your reads are going to be slower when you're throwing to Grant Calcaterra, Paris Campbell, Jahan Dotson, John Ross, Jack Stoll, and Johnny Wilson, who by the way, watching Florida State last year, here's how you use Johnny Wilson. Let him run 30 yards downfield, throw it straight up in the air so he can go up and catch it. Because if you throw a straight line drive past him, he can't catch anything. He's absolutely horrendous out there on the field. But the Eagles getting washed yesterday wasn't a big shot to me, but also the indication for the head coach not having this team ready to play, that's the biggest flaw I see at this point moving forward. Now they'll go in the bye week. They're going to play Cleveland, who's a complete mess. They could roll them and say, you know what? All our players are back and things are different. The look wasn't good because you might say also, Ben, like, I'm an Eagles fan. Hey, you know what? That was a tough spot. They weren't going to win that game. The fact that they got hammered. Then we're going to take a look at a game in just a little bit between the Jets and the Denver Broncos. And you say, well, they were on the road and their quarterback had -7 yards at the half, threw for 60 yards, and finally threw his first touchdown pass after 4 games, and they still won. Just because your offense stinks and is injured doesn't mean your defense just has the right to go out there and just lay down for the entire first half and have the game just washed away from you automatically. Terrible.
Yeah, that's the concerning thing, right? A blowout from the very jump yesterday against the Bucs. For Tampa, though, they improved to 3-1. The only blemish on their resume, the unheard of loss to the Denver Broncos, except maybe it's not unheard of, the Broncos being a 5.5-point dog or greater going on the road and winning outright, as we'll share in just a bit. Bye weeks start around the National Football League in week number 5. That's next weekend. The Birds, the Titans, the Lions, and the Chargers, the 4 teams on the bye. Baker Mayfield, 347 yards, 2 passing scores, another on the ground. Sensational to start this year. So we already shared DRS Kansas City, one of the 2 teams to emerge unbeaten 4-0 following week 4, at least to this point. The other, the Minnesota Vikings. And that is the surprise. 31-29, the Vikings winning in Lambeau in a game that was a lot closer at the end than it was at the start. Sam Darnold and the Vikings, not only one of 2 unbeaten 4-0 straight-up teams, the only team that is 4-0 against the spread in the National Football League so far this year, winning their last 3 games outright as the underdog. The Vikes led 28-zip early on in the opening half. The Packers did make it interesting late, but Minnesota picks up a huge divisional road win as a road underdog, even against Jordan Love and the Pack.
Yeah, don't give me this close game nonsense. This was an absolute smoke show, blast out, blowout by the Minnesota Vikings, where just like a lot of NFL teams, you let your foot off the gas. And don't give me Jordan Love. 389 in his return and 4 touchdowns. You have 3 horrendous interceptions at that point to put your team behind here. Minnesota is a really good football team, and maybe we underestimated them greatly coming into the season.
Sam Darnold, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, 85, and 1 of those 3 touchdown tosses. More around the NFC next.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Through the Sunday slate in week number 4, basically the opening month of this NFL season, there are always some surprises. And the most surprising undefeated team that remains, the Minnesota Vikings. A perfect 4-0, a divisional statement yesterday in Green Bay against Jordan Love and the Packers. The Vikings win outright as an underdog for a third consecutive week. They have won outright all 4 weeks. They are 4-0. So let's look at the NFC Championship odds. The Niners were the largest favorite of the week. They handle business against the bad New England Patriots. They remain the favorites in the NFC. We'll see the Lions at home as a 4.5-point favorite against the unbeaten Seahawks tonight in one of the 2 games on Monday. The Eagles trounced yesterday on the road in Tampa. And the Vikings again, DRS, unblemished, a perfect 4-0. What do you make of those 4 best prices to win the NFC crown at this moment?
It's probably still right because, just it's early in the season. You're trying to have the expectations set of what you figure these teams will be at the end of the season if they are healthy. Yes, the Eagles got smashed, but the Eagles were without a lot of good players. You can understand that. You take a look at the 49ers, not the best record they could have. Why? Because they're injured as well. You take a look at the Detroit Lions still feeling their way around. But the question is here with the Vikings, which we are going to talk about the Seahawks. Let's just look at the differences of seasons. You say, hey, the Vikings are good and the Seahawks are good. Yes, they are. The Seahawks played 3 trash can offenses and quarterbacks through their first 3 games. It's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, they're good, but when are they going to get punched here? And they probably will get punched tonight by the Lions. That should be a good one. But before we get there, look at the Vikings. The Vikings didn't say, hey, man, we got lucky on these couple games. Do you see the teams they're beating? The 49ers, the Texans, and then going into Lambeau when Jordan Love comes back and handling their business there. That's what I'd love to see because we're not saying, I wonder what the Vikings are. No, you know what the Vikings are. That is a competent, quality football team that's getting good quarterback play, good running back play, good wide receiver play, and good defensive play. And you might see that, hey, they gave up close to 30 points yesterday. Technically, yes, they did. But that game was a blowout where all Minnesota was doing was saying, you know what? Let's just run this clock out and get out of here. It doesn't matter what that final score is. I thought Green Bay was going to be the better team coming in there. I thought they were set up well, and I thought Love would have a good day. Technically, he did, but you can't turn the football over and win. Put it this way. Love what I see out of the Vikings, and what you're seeing is not a mirage right now. It's the truth. They play good football teams and beat good football teams. That's what you like to see.
The defense is better. They were playing great, and then the Packers came back, and Jordan Love, who was helter-skelter yesterday, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But when the defense has needed to buckle up, they have done so under Brian Flores. There is one quarterback, only one, through 4 weeks in the National Football League that has thrown for double-digit touchdown tosses. His name is Sammy D. Sam Darnold, 11 touchdowns so far this year for Minnesota. 5th best price to win the NFL MVP award. And it's not a shtick or a gimmick or a joke. He deserves to be in consideration. Justin Jefferson got the bag this offseason. He is thrilled with the quarterback play in the offense right now in Minneapolis. The Vikings are for real. So Minnesota, one of two teams that is currently at 4-0. The other not nearly as surprising, but the Vikings have looked dominant and impressive in doing so. The Chiefs, not necessarily the same case. 4-0. A touchdown victory yesterday on the road in L.A. in an ugly, grimy divisional duel against the Chargers. 17-10 the win for KC. They closed as a 7.5-point favorite, so technically losing out by the hook. The line for most of the week was flat at that number of 7. But Donnie, yesterday, KC trailed 10-zip at the end of the opening quarter. The Chargers were playing their picture-perfect game, even with a hobbled Justin Herbert missing both of his offensive tackles in Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. They were running the ball. They were grinding away clock. They were playing the game that Jim Harbaugh has had Los Angeles play through the opening 4 weeks. And still, at the end of the day, the Chiefs come out with a road victory in a divisional game.
That whole team is banged up for the Chargers, but this is what you love about Jim Harbaugh. Like, we were going over on the Pro Football Today set yesterday. Like, well, what do you think happens in this game? And I said, there's one thing I know. I don't care what the injuries are. Jim Harbaugh is going to have that football team ready to play. And they were 10-0 at the end of the first quarter, and Rashee Rice got hurt early. This still should have been a game that the Chargers were able to win, but it just comes down to this. One team has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And also keep in mind, when you have Rashee Rice, he's the lead dog on that offense. You game plan all week heading into that game that he's going to be your guy that's going to get 10 to 15 targets in that game. He's erased early. So quality coaching by Andy Reid to adjust on the fly and get Travis Kelce some action now. 7 catches on 9 targets, 89 yards. Xavier Worthy, what does he do best? Gets deep, scored a long touchdown pass here to get them back into the football game. I was impressed by Kansas City, but the problem with the NFL is, and I know I always say this, it doesn't matter if you have Patrick Mahomes and well, it looks like they actually don't have anybody else at this point, so they're going to have to make some moves. And by the way, shout out Carson Steele. Awesome that you have an alligator. Have no idea how you made an NFL roster, but your 2 carries for 6 yards and a fumble. Nice to know you, Carson. Probably back to the practice squad you go, because Kareem Hunt actually looked like the Kareem Hunt of old yesterday. That's big for the Kansas City Chiefs.
KC's leading rusher, 14 carries, 69 yards. It was Samaje Perine, though, scoring the game-winning touchdown with just over 6 minutes remaining. The Chiefs, though, blanking the Chargers in the final 3 quarters and holding L.A. to only 55 yards on the ground, just 2.3 yards per carry. This KC defense, to start the last 2 years under Steve Spagnuolo, very, very good. Let's go elsewhere around the NFL. Pittsburgh entered unbeaten into Week 4. They suffered their first loss of the year in Indianapolis. Quarterback battle, QB competition. We shall see the veteran Joe Flacco stepping up when needed yesterday. The Colts did have an early lead. Anthony Richardson had led an opening touchdown drive. They were driving inside Pittsburgh's 10-yard line when he was injured basically twice in the span of 4 plays with about 3 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Flacco comes in, and Flacco does what he does in that veteran experience backup role. 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, as Indianapolis wins 27-24 at home outright as a 2.5-point underdog against the Steelers.
Let me get this straight for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Let's forget about the final score and say, Donnie, I got that crystal ball out. What happened in this game? Let me just give you some statistics. Justin Fields, 22 of 34 for 312 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions, which he had a passer rating of 104. On the ground for Justin Fields, 10 carries, 55 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him. Backup running back, Cordell Patterson, 6 carries for 43 yards, which equated to 30 carries for 122 yards. Wow, man. Steelers got to win that game 31-3, right? That's an absolute blowout. And also, Anthony Richardson getting injured in the first quarter, which was your starting quarterback. And they broke the Steelers down, the Colts here. Shane Steichen is a really, really good offensive coordinator. But look at that, having that competent backup like you had last year in Gardner Minshew to come in when you know Anthony Richardson is going to get injured. Joe Flacco, 16 of 26, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, coming off the bench where he probably took 1 snap during the week and was just probably in meetings trying to get Anthony Richardson ready. But also keep an eye on this. Taylor left that game late with a high ankle sprain, certainly something to monitor, but I can't believe the Steelers had that type of offensive performance and got beat in this game. That is incredible. What a win for the Colts.
First loss of the year for Pittsburgh, first over of the year for the Steelers. It's not exactly Steeler football to have Justin Fields throw for over 300 yards and be your team's leading rusher, 55 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. I will say this, Anthony Richardson was good in the time that he was out there. 3 of 4, 71 yards, 24 rushing yards as well. But Joe Flacco always delivers. 2 winless teams playing on the Sunday slate, at least entering. One got there first. The other is 0-4. The Bengals winning in Carolina. It was what was needed for Cincinnati. 34-24 DRS. Covering is a 5.5-point favorite. And I'll just say this, skying over a total of 47.5. Cincy's defense not great this year. Keep an eye on their totals throughout the rest of this season.
Oh, it's fantastic. And yes, now that you have Andy Dalton at quarterback, you actually have a functional offense in Carolina. But the focus here yesterday for me was on Joe Burrow. My best bet of the day was over 1.5 touchdown passes. He gets to the 2, which was great. My favorite touchdown score on the day was Jamar Chase, and that was a fantastic 63-yard touchdown catch. If you didn't watch it live, like, hey, beat his guy deep, ran into the end zone. No. Caught a ball over the middle, spun off a couple tackles, got a convoy down the sideline, and away they went. We always knew the Bengals had a really good offense, and it's going to show up. And you're right. Just like the Arizona Cardinals for me entering the season, the Bengals are the team to watch there. They'll be fun to bet on.
Our full Week 4 Sunday slate recap continues next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Don?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two teams entered Sunday's slate winless around the NFL. The Bengals avoid a disastrous 0-4 start. They beat Carolina in Charlotte 34-24, covering as a 5.5-point favorite. Good for the Bengals, trying to rally and make history to start the year 0-3 and maybe end up a playoff team. Probably not going to be the case, though, DRS. for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 0-4 now after having a late lead in the fourth quarter in Houston and watching C.J. Stroud drive the Texans down the length of the field for a game-winning touchdown in the final 2 minutes and 54 seconds. 9-play, 69-yard drive that ended in a 1-yard pass to Dare Ogunbowale against his former team in Jacksonville. Houston does win 24-20. The Jags do cover as a 5.5-point road underdog. But Houston bounces back after their only loss of the year in Minnesota. The Texans now 3-1. The Jags, who we thought might keep pace in the AFC South divisional chase, 0-4.
Tough scene for them. And by the way, coming into that game, I was like, hey, maybe you get a last stand effort out of Jacksonville. And they were competent in that football game. And also figuring to me that Nico Collins might be a decoy in this game, being a little bit banged up. How about 15 targets, 12 catches, $151, and a touchdown? He was an absolute superstar. And then Diggs comes in with 5 for 69. You take a look at the Houston rushing game, got over 101 yards, salting that game away. But C.J. Stroud, this is the guy we love. 27 of 40, 345 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions. But once again, if you would have told me going in, and the sharp side was the Jaguars, so congratulations to the sharps out there that were able to take the Jags. You got what you wanted, a cover in that game. But you had efficiency out of Trevor Lawrence, which you didn't have a lot this year. 18 of 33, $169, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Could have that passer rating a little bit higher, I get it. But they went on the road, Ben, ran 24 times for 158 yards, which is 6.6 yards per carry, had the lead in that game and lost. That's a tough pill to swallow because, yes, you were hoping for a last-stand effort. You technically got it here. Yes, did you want to win the football game because you needed it? Sure. But I thought the offense did enough to win that game, but C.J. Stroud was just that much better overall. It's over for the Jaguars. They're not going to win the division, not going to make the playoffs. Now we just take a look at Doug Peterson and that talented football team and just say, what's next? You're probably not going to be here next year. You're a lame duck head coach, and that usually doesn't work well for the rest of the season.
There are going to be some coaching changes on that team in Jacksonville. Ryan Nielsen, who is the defensive coordinator, kind of looks like an older Aaron Rodgers, is probably going to get canned very soon. Jacksonville is one of the worst passing defenses. They got exposed for 345 yesterday against C.J. Stroud. The only blemish for Houston under Stroud since he became the quarterback, of course, at the start of last year, now as the favorite, and they have been favored in all 4 games this season, just 3-8-1 against the spread as the favored side. Let's look at the rookie quarterbacks yesterday. Somehow, some way, despite throwing for only 60 yards, Bo Nix leads Denver to a 10-9 victory on a rainy, wet, and sloppy day at MetLife Stadium. Greg Zuerlein and the Jets did have a chance. He missed a 50-yard field goal with just 47 seconds remaining. Bo Nix, 60 yards and a touchdown in win number 2. The Broncos, for a second consecutive week, winning outright on the road as at least a 5.5-point underdog. Yesterday, catching 7 and a hook against King Green.
Embarrassing effort for the New York Jets. 9 total points. I understand that the Denver Broncos do have a quality defense and went on the road last week and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But back-to-back road games, they stayed on the East Coast here just to get ready for the Jets. I know there were some weather conditions in the Meadowlands, but at the same time, it wasn't that bad here. And also, where are the explosive plays for the New York Jets? Like coming into that game, like, hey, you know what? Let's see what Breece Hall has. You have a little bit of rain in the forecast. He's going to get a lot of touches. 10 carries for 4 yards. Braylon Edwards, 8 carries for 30 yards. As a team, the New York Jets, 23 carries for 60 yards, 2.8 yards per carry, and nothing substantial here for Aaron Rodgers. The one question mark he had coming into the season for me wasn't if I was going to get good quality quarterbacking play from Aaron Rodgers. I still think he can do that. But the question was, is that new rebuilt offensive line going to be okay? 5 sacks yesterday under constant pressure. Nothing working for the Jets. That's the biggest reason, because the one thing you hoped was going to get better doesn't look like it got all that better. You can't lose to the Broncos at home yesterday. They're 2-2. They should be 3-1. Dismal performance in that weather up there at MetLife.
The Broncos have been pretty good defensively, holding the Jets yesterday to only 64 yards on the ground. Was it Denver's defense? Was it the cadence of the New York offense? Robert Saleh saying this: cadence had not been an issue all camp. Felt like our operation had been operating pretty good. Obviously, today took a major step back when his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, was asked about what the head coach had to say. Quote, "That's one way to do it. The other way is to hold them accountable. I mean, we haven't had an issue." Oh, that big D word, drama. following around the Jets organization, but a golden opportunity missed for New York to improve to 3-1. Actually, all three of the rookie quarterbacks got a big victory yesterday. The Bears at home holding off the Rams 24-18. Chicago wins and covers as a 3-point home favorite. DeAndre Swift, huge day. 93 rushing yards, touchdown. 7 grabs for 72 receiving yards. DRS, he entered on the year in the first 3 games with 37 carries for 68 yards. He had his breakthrough yesterday. The Bears, a big home victory over LA.
I thought they would beat them yesterday. I was willing to lay the number, and they came away with a nice victory. And also, you take a look at that measured approach. Like, hey, Caleb needs to throw 45 times to be effective. 17 of 23, 157, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 106 passer rating. That's good enough to get the job done. But also, you win on the ground sometimes. And DeAndre Swift was hearing the cat calls, saying this was a terrible signing. He can't see. He has no vision on the field. 16 carries for 93 yards, which included that 36-yard touchdown run. And then also, as you said, 7 for 72 in the air. Keenan Allen came back, more of a decoy, 3 for 19, but that's a good win for the Chicago Bears. We thought that the Bears would be winning with electricity on offense, but their defense has been playing some quality football, particularly against a banged-up Rams team. Nice win for the Bears, back to 2-2, a more measured game plan here for Caleb Williams, and it worked.
Chicago's defense bended, but it did not break yesterday. The Rams having to settle for 5 field goal attempts. Joshua Carty, the rookie kicker, only making 4. Chicago is perfect at home this year. Each of its 2 wins inside Soldier Field, booked as the favorite in both, and covering the numbers, both 2-0 straight up and against the spread as the home favorite so far this season. But the real story of the rookie quarterbacks is Jaden Daniels, off to a historic start. The rest of the Sunday slate around the NFL comes your way up next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
What a start to his career, to this season, for his rookie campaign, for the number 2 overall selection, Jaden Daniels. Washington yesterday on the road in a game we expected to be competitive and high scoring. It wasn't competitive. It was high scoring, but all on one side. The Commanders, under Cliff Kingsbury and the tutelage of Jaden Daniels, is an offensive juggernaut through 4 weeks. 42-14, the victory for Washington on the road over Arizona in Glendale yesterday. They went outright as a 3.5-point underdog. The highest total of the weekend, DRS, 50.5 skies over, but only because of the Commanders putting up 42 points. Washington is now 3-1 straight up this year, 3 consecutive wins, winning outright as an underdog in these 3 games. They were actually a slight favorite against the New York Giants, but 3 consecutive games of scoring at least 30 points for the first time in more than 5 years for this Washington organization. What a start for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders.
It's been a great start too, and maybe you have that perfect storm of Dan Quinn, that head coach that says, you know what, been there, done that before, longtime defensive coordinator, was a head coach in Atlanta. Let me fix the defense here. Let me handle the day-to-day things for the team. But Cliff Kingsbury, hey, look, this is your offense. Get out there and see if you can make it work with this young rookie quarterback. And he's been nothing short of spectacular, taking care of the football for the most part, but also ultra efficient in the pocket, an unbelievable completion percentage. You look at the football team on the ground, 37 carries, 216, which is good for 5.8 yards per carry. And how about this? 4 touchdowns on the ground. Brian Robinson, 21 carries for 101. No need for any Austin Eckler. And also, when you're just looking at the box score, you say, okay, Arizona, what did you do? Kyler Murray, 16 of 22, no interceptions, a touchdown pass, a $142. On the ground for them, 32 carries for 181 yards, and they got destroyed in that football game. And you might say, well, what did they do, Ben? Lose the turnover battle 5-1? No, the turnover battle was even yesterday, 1-1, which shows you the strength of the victory for the Commanders, that they really just put the Arizona Cardinals away. That was really impressive to watch it play out. Now, for me, I did have a Marvin Harrison touchdown in that game, which was on the first drive. Like, okay, how about this? Arizona's engaged, because I also hooked that up with Kyler Murray over 1.5 touchdown passes. I get that on the first drive, and I get nothing the rest of the way because Washington was great on offense and defense. They sit at 3-1. They're the best team in the NFC East right now. Now, full gas for the Eagles and the Cowboys later in the season, maybe that changes. But right now, basically at that quarter pole, Washington looks like a really good football team.
Jaden Daniels, 233 through the air yesterday. His first interception of his career, but a touchdown as well. 47 yards on the ground, another score. He has scored personally in 3 of 4 games, 4 rushing TDs in total. But 26 of 30, Jaden Daniels yesterday. His completion percentage this year, better than 82%. He is now the minus money, odds-on favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at minus 110. And who could fault that thought right now around the National Football League? Other Week 4 Sunday slate results. The Falcons win a game without scoring an offensive touchdown, but Younghoe Koo delivering a 58-yard field goal to give the Falcons a victory. A pick 6 for Atlanta's defense. Rashid Shaheed fumbled, muffed the opening punt of the game. Atlanta recovers and takes it for a score. Big victory for the Falcons, DRS, winning at home in a divisional duel against New Orleans.
Yeah, I liked Atlanta yesterday to win that football game, but if you're looking at that final spread there, maybe you're even more happy that the New Orleans Saints actually got the cover. So it was a close game all the way through, but you'll take victories. You snatched one against the Eagles, the Falcons did. You snatched another one here against the Saints. Hey, 2-2. Nobody's going to go back and say, you got lucky there. You are what your record says you are. And now the Saints, after looking unbelievable in their first 2 games, back down to earth now.
Tough to lose a game where the other team did not score an offensive touchdown, but the Saints have dropped 2 straight after starting 2-0. The 49ers held serve. The defense was great. Fred Warner, a pick 6. They sacked Jacoby Brissett 6 times. They forced a couple of fumbles. They win 30-13, covering as a 10.5-point favorite. And oh boy, those Browns are bad. It was not on Deshaun Watson yesterday. He was fine, but Cleveland in total, DRS, 1-3 so far this year. The only win over the winless Jacksonville Jaguars back in week 2.
Yeah, they should have won that football game. They got robbed on a long touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. Let's also go back with Amari Cooper. Dropped one of the easier long passes you can have, which basically ricocheted up in the air for an interception. So that's one where I see Deshaun Watson in the game. Didn't play his best game, but that wasn't his fault at all. But the questions now start to arise. You can't lose to that football game. That's unbelievable. Cleveland lost. Now they're going to come up and say, you know what? We're at a crossroads on our season, and can Deshaun Watson be that guy? Doesn't look like he can, but that's a terrible loss against a Vegas team that was scrambling without a lot of talent.
A holding call that maybe wasn't, that should have given the big touchdown to Amari Cooper, We shall see. Hour 2 is up next.